The Strait of Hormuz is one of the narrowest waterways with one of the biggest jobs on Earth. It is only about 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, but nearly a fifth of the world's oil trade passes through it. Every day, tankers loaded in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar move through these waters toward Asia, Europe, and beyond. If the strait slows down, the global economy feels it almost immediately. That is why every military threat, every ship seizure, every missile warning, and every naval standoff in Hormuz sends shockwaves far beyond the Persian Gulf. Markets react before governments do. Insurance companies move before diplomats speak. Traders raise prices before warships arrive. And in the middle of all that tension, one country often gains quietly and significantly: Russia. While headlines focus on Iran, the United States, Israel, and Gulf states, Moscow can emerge as one of the biggest economic winners whenever Hormuz becomes unstable. Not because Russia controls the strait, it does not. Not because Russia sends fleets there, it usually does not need to. Russia benefits because fear itself has value. To understand how this works, start with oil. Russia remains one of the world's largest energy exporters. Even after sanctions, embargoes, and the war in Ukraine reshaped global trade, Russian crude still reaches major buyers through discounted sales, shadow fleets, rerouted cargoes, and new partnerships. When Hormuz is calm, oil buyers have options. Gulf producers ship steadily. Supply looks reliable. Prices stay under pressure. When Hormuz is threatened, those calculations change fast. A missile exchange in the Gulf, naval warnings, tankers rerouted, insurance rates rising. Suddenly buyers want backup supply. They look for barrels outside the immediate danger zone. Russia becomes more valuable. Even if not a single tanker is stopped, the fear of disruption can lift oil prices worldwide. And when prices rise, Russia often earns more revenue per barrel. That creates a simple but powerful equation. Instability in one region can strengthen the finances of a country thousands of miles away. This matters because Russia's state budget depends heavily on oil and gas income. Energy revenue helps fund government spending, social programs, military costs, and foreign policy ambitions. When prices rise, pressure on Moscow can ease. That means a crisis in Hormuz can indirectly reduce the economic pain caused by Western sanctions. It also gives Russia more leverage with major buyers like China and India. Both countries need large amounts of energy. Both want reliable supply at good prices. If Gulf shipping becomes uncertain, Russian exports can look even more attractive, even with sanctions complications and shipping workarounds. That strengthens Moscow's negotiating hand. The global energy map has changed dramatically since 2022. Europe reduced dependence on Russian pipeline gas. Russia pivoted eastward. New shipping routes expanded. Discounts helped maintain demand. A shadow transport network grew. Payment systems adapted. But none of that removed one basic truth. Russia still benefits when energy insecurity rises elsewhere. Now zoom out further. The Strait of Hormuz is not just about oil. It is about psychology. Financial markets price risk. If traders believe supply may tighten, prices move. If insurers fear attacks, premiums rise. If shipping firms expect delays, freight costs climb. That extra cost can spread through the world economy. Fuel becomes more expensive, transportation costs rise, food prices can increase, inflation risks return, central banks become cautious, political leaders face angry voters, and when Western economies struggle with inflation, support for long and expensive foreign policy campaigns can weaken. That can indirectly help Russia too. Because Moscow understands that economic pressure shapes political stamina. If households in Europe or North America face rising costs linked to Middle East turmoil, governments may have less room for aggressive sanctions, military aid packages, or broader geopolitical commitments. This is where geography turns into strategy. Russia does not need to dominate every battlefield. Sometimes it only needs rival powers to become distracted, divided, or financially strained. A Hormuz crisis can do that. The United States would likely shift military attention toward protecting shipping lanes, reassuring Gulf allies, and deterring escalation. Naval assets may redeploy. Diplomatic bandwidth narrows. Crisis management becomes urgent. That means time, money, and attention move away from other theaters. Ukraine notices that. Europe notices that. China notices that. Russia certainly notices that. The same pattern has repeated across history. Great powers gain opportunities when rivals become overstretched. Now consider natural gas. Qatar, one of the world's top liquefied natural gas exporters, also relies on the Gulf route. If LNG shipments face disruption fears, gas markets can tighten. Prices may rise in Asia and Europe. Russia, despite losing some European gas dominance, still has an interest in higher global gas prices and tighter alternatives. Again, Moscow may not need to act. It only needs instability elsewhere. There is another layer few people discuss openly: diplomatic positioning. Russia often presents itself as a state able to talk with multiple sides. Iran, Gulf monarchies, Israel at times, and other regional actors. That does not mean it controls outcomes. It means crises create openings for relevance. When the West is seen as partisan or overstretched, Moscow can market itself as pragmatic, available, and strategically useful. That has value in arms sales, trade deals, security talks, and political influence. Meanwhile, countries desperate for stable supply may become less focused on isolating Russia. Principles often weaken when energy anxiety rises. Now contrast official language with market reality. Governments may say supply remains sufficient. Naval patrols are active. Routes are open. Strategic reserves exist. All of that may be true, but markets trade on what could happen next, not only what is true now. If investors think a tanker could be hit tomorrow, prices can rise today. That timing gap creates windfalls for exporters like Russia, and it can happen very quickly. A single drone incident, a warning shot, a vessel seizure, a temporary closure rumor. Sometimes words alone move billions of dollars. This is why Hormuz matters so much. It is a narrow waterway with oversized global consequences. Now place this in the broader political moment. Russia continues balancing war costs, sanctions pressure, industrial strain, and long-term competition with the West. Every external shock that raises revenue or divides opponents becomes strategically useful, not decisive, but useful. And modern geopolitics often turns on accumulations of advantage rather than one dramatic event. $5 more per barrel over time matters. Higher shipping costs for competitors matter. Distracted Western governments matter. New dependence from Asian buyers matters. Gradual normalization of doing business with Russia matters. This is how leverage grows quietly. There is also the domestic Russian angle. Higher energy income can support the ruble, stabilize budgets, fund infrastructure promises, and reinforce narratives that sanctions failed. Governments facing external pressure value signs of resilience. A Hormuz crisis can help create that story. Now look at Europe. Many European states spent years trying to reduce reliance on Russian energy after the invasion of Ukraine. They diversified supply through LNG imports, renewables, efficiency measures, and new pipelines. But if Middle East supply becomes more expensive or uncertain, Europe's transition becomes harder and costlier. That does not mean Europe returns to old dependency. It means alternatives become more expensive. Russia benefits whenever replacement options look painful. Asia faces a similar dilemma. China and India seek affordable energy to power growth. They diversify sources for security. But if Gulf risk premiums rise, discounted Russian crude becomes more compelling. That can deepen commercial ties already strengthened in recent years. Then there is the military-industrial side. Higher state revenues can support procurement, defense manufacturing, and strategic patience. Wars are expensive. Revenue matters. Energy exporters know this better than anyone. Some analysts describe the modern world as an interconnected pressure system. Conflict in one node creates gains and losses elsewhere. Hormuz is one of the most sensitive nodes on Earth, which brings us to a harder truth. A crisis does not need to become full war to reshape power balances. Sometimes the threat of disruption is enough. Ships still sail, oil still flows, no missiles strike cities, yet insurance rises, prices jump, governments scramble, and rival exporters profit. That gray zone between peace and war is where many modern advantages are won. Russia has learned to operate in gray zones. So have others. For ordinary people, all of this can feel distant and technical until it reaches the gas pump, grocery bill, heating bill, or inflation rate. Then geopolitics becomes personal. A family paying more for transportation may never think about tanker routes near Oman. A business facing higher shipping costs may never study naval patrol maps, but they are connected. That is the power of choke points. Small places can move giant systems. The Strait of Hormuz is one of those places, and every time tension rises there, Russia's economic leverage can rise with it. Not because Moscow commands the strait, because markets reward alternatives, fear lifts prices, and distracted rivals create openings. That is how a crisis in the Gulf can strengthen a power far to the north. No dramatic invasion required, no treaty announcement needed, no visible victory parade, just higher prices, shifting flows, and another reminder that in the global economy, leverage often travels farther than armies.